Welcome to the DSO Hygienist Podcast. This podcast is for everyone in the DSO space. Whether you're a hygienist, dentist, assistant, or leader, we're here to bring you expert insights, real-world strategies, and conversations to help you thrive. I'm your host, Christine Diehl, and together we'll explore how to elevate patient care, grow professionally, and navigate the ever-evolving world of DSOs. Let's get started. Brian Colao is the director of Dykema's Dental Service Organizations Group. He has been serving the dental industry for over 30 years. He's widely regarded as one of the foremost authorities in the United States on DSO formation, DSO business structures, DSO-related mergers and acquisitions, and the full array of regulatory compliance requirements for DSOs. Brian was named a 2019 DSO Influencer by Group Dentistry Now and the 2023 Thought Leader of the Year by Planet DDS. Additionally, Brian was inducted into ADSO's prestigious Hall of Leaders. Just bought a dental practice? The paperwork's done, but now the real work begins. The team you just inherited is unsure, morale is shaky, and change feels risky. Introducing the DSO Team Transition, the go-to solution for new dental practice owners and small DSOs who want to lead with confidence and retain their team from day one. We give you a 30-day action checklist, staff meeting scripts, and a step-by-step roadmap to stabilize your culture, earn trust, and keep things running smoothly, all without the burnout. Download your free 30-day checklist for new owners at DSOteamtransition.com and start your leadership journey with clarity and confidence. Because buying the practice is just the beginning. I'd like to welcome Brian to the show.
Thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you for being on. I have to tell you that you are somebody I really wanted as a guest, so I appreciate you doing this today.
Well, it's always great to get together with you, Christine. And again, I'm just honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, Brian, let me tell you how this goes. I'm going to ask you fast and furious questions. So here we go. First question, what does a typical day look like for you? And how has your role evolved over the years?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, a typical day now is just chaotic and crazy. I mean, if you want to go back, this is my 30th year doing it. I mean, 30 years ago, I think I looked like a real lawyer. I went to the office. I had a lot of legal issues. I, generated documents, went to court, did a lot of things like that. I mean, today, look, I might do a podcast or a webinar on a day. I might order a cotton candy machine. I might commission a helicopter. I might send, this is all true, but, for various events we have going. Today, I was dealing with the Magic Castle in LA. We're doing a client event out there. I was also figuring out our drone show at our big event. I was, sketching out slides as to what's possible for a drone to do, what's not possible for the drone to do. So and in between this, I still do legal stuff. I mean, I still actively represent, I think, over 700 dental organizations all over the world, really, in all 50 states, Canada, Japan, Australia, Europe. But, wedged between these rather unique things like cotton candy machines, helicopters, and drone shows, there are legal problems in there that I do have to solve or work with my team. I mean, I think the biggest change is 30 years ago, it was me and a couple junior associates that worked for me. Now, 30 years later, I have 72 professionals that work on my team. So I'm managing, very, very substantial projects with very, very substantial resources.
That is really fascinating. So you work with some of the largest DSOs in the country. So what are some of the behind the scenes legal or business challenges that you don't realize at that level?
Well, these are very big, some of them are very big organizations that employ, if you've got 1,000 offices, you've got 10, 15,000 employees, maybe something like that. And, you've got a lot of things that they have to deal with, a lot of HR, a lot of personnel issues, a lot of day-to-day things like that affect. This isn't some sleepy industry anymore where, you used to have, we got 5 dental offices and 25 or 30 employees and we have a little company picnic and we hang out. I mean, some of these organizations have thousands and thousands of employees, 10,000 employees. So they're very substantial organizations with, apart from the unique dental things that we do, they've got, issues that affect any other major corporation with tens of thousands of employees. And a lot of it is, what I would say, HR benefits, HR, things that come with thousands and thousands of employees.
So how do you balance the business needs of DSOs with the clinical priorities of the dental professional?
I mean, that's a dance. That's the whole thing. That's the dance. What I've always said before is, there are three sort of key points. I mean, you can make a lot of key components to a DSO, but to me, to try to keep it as simple as I can, there's three of them. You got to get along with your affiliated dentist. That's number one. Number two, you got to put patients in the seats. And number three, you got to follow the regulations. If you can do those three things, you've really, more than likely going to have a good business. If you fall down on those things, you're going to have problems. And number one for me has always been, I'm very deliberate in how I listed that for you. You got to get along with your affiliated dentist, and that's critical. And, I think most modern day DSOs, there were issues 30 years ago, 20 years ago. But today, most modern day DSOs don't try to practice dentistry, don't try to do clinical work. They don't. They, in fact, have, clinical advisory boards, chief clinical officers that might help them, like liaison on those issues, but they're not out there trying to, practice dentistry. But at the same time, dentists can be very demanding, particularly if you're affiliating, like some DSOs I know you're affiliating, the top dentists in America are affiliating, they can be very demanding. They can sometimes require a lot of things. So it's a delicate dance. It's one you have to do. If you can't do that, you're not going to have a successful DSO. But what I always say, because I get asked this a lot, not just on this type of show, but I get asked this in the context of legal advice. Like, what do we do in this situation? You've been around DSOs 30 plus years. What do? You got to treat everybody like a partner. The dentists have to accept the DSO as their partner. It's not their solo practice anymore. They have to know that. I mean, yes, they may not be allowed to tell you how to practice dentistry, but from a business standpoint, you're not a solo practitioner anymore. You got to accept the DSO as a partner. And then the DSO has to understand that clinical is the domain of the dentist, and there are certain requirements that dentist is going to need to really thrive and succeed in that environment. And what I found is if both parties work together, Christine, it's not that hard. If they really do, where the problem comes in is if either party is unwilling to work with the other. And I've seen it in 30 years. I've seen it both ways. I've seen, DSOs that maybe just didn't understand the business. I mean, not so much today, but going back, where there was a lot of problems 25 years ago, I've seen DSOs that, didn't fundamentally understand the relationship and thought, the dentists were sort of just their employees instead of their partners. And then I've seen it many, many times. And more so today, I see it to this day. Sometimes there'll be an affiliation with a dentist, and that dentist doesn't fully appreciate what that affiliation means and just thinks everything's going to operate the same way it did before the affiliation. And that's not a realistic expectation. So both sides have to understand the relationship, that now they're partners in a way. Obviously, the dentist has to practice dentistry and has sole domain to do that. But as an entire organization, business and clinical together, they're kind of partners with each other, and they got to work with each other. And if they can do that, then there's not, these are not really big problems. Everybody can work through. But if one party or the other, is just unwilling to work with the other, that's where the problems, sort of come in.
I love that you said partnership, because I do think that's really important. And I do think that that's probably where some of that angst comes in when you're having problems
I mean, they're
between.
business partners, right? They have different
Yeah.
roles. The dentist is responsible for practicing dentistry, and the DSO generally can't do that. It doesn't have a dental license. Only the dentist can practice dentistry, but the DSO does have contractual and other rights to manage the business. The non-clinical aspects of the business, and the dentist gave them that permission. It's like if you're running a dental practice, nobody can just walk in your door and tell you what to do. But if you sign a contract and you consent to it, the DSO has the right to manage the non-clinical aspects. And sometimes they forget that. When I'm talking to dentists, they're like, how can they come in and do this? You invited them in. You signed a contract. You said they're allowed to do it. It's right here. We can go over it together. And people have to sort of understand that. And when they do, things go really well. But sometimes you'll get folks that maybe they thought it's all a big misunderstanding, and they really need to, as quick as they can, understand what the relationship is, and that everybody's got to work with each other, or else problems could develop.
Yeah, for sure. So how are DSOs adapting their legal and operational models to the changing dynamics of the dental workforce, especially around staffing shortages and hybrid kind of roles?
Well, I mean, you have to leverage technology. I'm speaking on this everywhere now. I mean, every year, my presentations depend on what's going on in the world and what's going to be the most value add. And the presentations I give in 2024 and 25 are different from the ones I gave in 2015 or 16 or 18 or 20 or something. But the ones that we're talking about now are, you have to leverage technology, one, to increase same-store growth, two, to overcome staff shortages, three, to be able to do less with more and be more efficient. And if you can properly there's all kinds of technologies I'm really, really excited about, but if you can leverage technology properly, you can overcome these things. And I think most of the DSOs are looking at that. They're all looking at, how can we utilize these technologies to do more than with less, overcome staff shortages, and cut expenses also.
Mm-hmm. So you've built one of the most recognized legal brands in the DSO space. What strategic decisions helped Dykema become the go-to firm in the industry?
Well, I mean, I think it was, for me anyway, this is my 30th year, and maybe the 16th or 17th year of the Dykema DSO Industry Group. I've been doing this for 30 years, but about 17 years ago I said, hey, we're going to do this as a group. We're going to market together as a group. We're going to do this. I think the strategic decision is, one, recognizing what was going on in the marketplace. And everybody, maybe it seems easy now, but 17, 18 years ago, telling my partners, hey, I'm going to focus on dentistry. This is what I'm going to do. People were looking at me like, what, full time? I mean, you can still do this like a little bit. You're going to what? You're going to form a group and you're just going to do dentistry? I mean, we understand why dentists do that, but you're a lawyer. Like, what are you going to do? And there was a lot of, people were looking at me like, I guess if you want to try this, but they were looking at me like really skeptically. So part of it, like with anything, is you have to recognize a need, or recognize a particular situation, and then you got to have the courage to do it. I mean, you got to step in. Christine, when you did your first, podcast, you were just like, hey, look, I think people, you might have been thinking to yourself, well, I hope people show up. I hope people are interested in this. You got to just go out and you got to just do it. And I did. And not do it half-assed, not dabble a little bit. I did this thing. And I was lucky. Look, I don't know, luck, I'll let others decide, luck, skill, or whatever, but people showed up. People showed up at the beginning, and they kept showing up, and the showing up went straight up in the air. It was pretty dramatic just how, few people showed up, then more people showed up, then more and more and more, that kind of thing. But, I recognized that there was a need. I went all in on it. I said, I'm going to have the courage to do this. If it doesn't work, I have a lot of skills as a lawyer. I could go back to doing some more traditional legal work, but let's focus on this. And it turned out better than I could ever, have imagined. Another step was, we're going to do the Dykema DSO conference. We're in our 12th year. That was a step that I made 12 years ago. I said, things are going really well. And it's real easy now for people to say, oh, yeah, you're sold out. You got 2,400 people. The first one, Christine, we had 41 people. Okay. I wasn't certain I was going to do it the next year. I was like, wow, and the next year I had 75. And I was like, well, I mean, that's a little better than 41, but is this really worth it? I mean, I had to beg people sort of at the last minute. Like I said, we had 75. We might have had 40 with a week to go or 2 weeks to go. And I had to make some phone calls and really convince people to come. But it wasn't until like the third year where we had almost 300 people that I said, all right, now maybe we're, sort of onto something. But, I had an idea. I said I was dissatisfied with the content I was seeing on DSOs. There were a lot of regular dental conferences, and they would just talk about regular dental, topics. But I was like, best practices for, doing all on four procedures or anesthesia. I mean, that's not helping the DSO industry. Like, that's not helping. And then I went to a couple very rudimentary conferences where they tried to talk about DSOs. And I disagreed strongly with the things that they were saying. And then I said, well, hey, do you think I could be on stage next year? And they're like, well, who are you? No, I don't think so. Like, no, why would we put you on stage? So I sat there and I'm like, there's a need for information. People need to learn. I don't like what these folks are doing. I tried to get involved. They don't want me involved. They won't let me get on stage. So what do? I guess I'll do my own conference. And that's how we got to year one. And again, you identified a need. You had the courage to go do it. And then, now here we are 12 years later. Sure, we're going to have 2,400 people this year, completely sold out.
That's so great. Congratulations to you on that. But I get what you're saying. It takes a lot of grit. You got to keep going. So what has surprised you the most about the growth and transformation of the DSO space in the last decade?
Yeah, the thing that has surprised me the most, and maybe this will be a surprise to you, it's not sort of the answer everybody thinks maybe, but it's an unusual thing. What has surprised me the most is the incredible high quality of the people in dentistry. I mean, I'm saying just the willingness to help each other. Not just like, hey, I'm a good dentist and I'm in my little box here and I do a great job and that's it. I mean, the collaboration, the collegiality, and the willingness to help. Because, our group has gotten involved. I specialize primarily, as you know, in dentistry, having done this, but our group of 72 professionals, we do everything. We do med spa, ophthalmology, orthopedic surgery, optometry, veterinarian. I mean, just about every discipline out there, now we're sort of doing something. And it's the very special community in the dental industry. It's better than I ever could have imagined it would be. People care. People want to help each other, even with nothing in return. If I call you, Christine, I'm just like, hey, can you answer a few questions for me? You're probably going to get nothing out of it other than, can you jump on the phone for me I need help? Can you help me? I know you'll do it. I do that. I did that twice today already with folks that, they just needed to be pointed in the right direction. They're not hiring me. They don't need legal services. There's nothing that I can think of they can do for me, but they needed help. And I got on there because others have done that for me. I believe it's very important. And I gave them half hour, 15, 20 minutes. And I feel like, I pointed them in the right direction. And that's the thing that has been most special and surprising, because other industries don't run this way. Having spent 30-year legal career and interfacing with other industries, it's very uncommon for people to get on the phone with their competitors, answer questions, help, just help other people that need guidance. And that's very, very special, very, very uncommon, and was very, very surprising to me. But one of the reasons why I know I made the right decision to kind of devote my career to dentistry.
Yeah, I also get those calls, and I talk to everyone because you never know. You never know what could come out of something.
And even if it doesn't come out of it, it's just the right thing to do. I mean, that's the culture we've built here, right? Even if you spend 15, 20 minutes with something and nothing, I mean, that you don't get anything, they never call back, and, you don't get any benefit, that tangible benefit anyway, that we could see. But the benefit is, you're carrying out a long tradition in dentistry of being collaborative, collegial, and helping people, even if, there's no immediate benefit to you. And so many people did that for me when I was coming up, that they didn't have to help me at all. And, so I feel like that's what we do. And it's very special.
Yeah. What excites you the most about the future of DSOs, and what keeps you up at night from a legal or like structural standpoint?
Well, okay, so technology excites me. I mean, there's been more advancements in the last 5 years in dentistry than the previous 100. Diagnostic AI, single big advancement I've ever seen. Some of these other AI tools out there that'll help you listen to phone calls, will help you, make real-time assessments. There's so many possibilities where we're not that far away. The AI is going to look at your condition. They'll do a full scan. They'll just look at your teeth and they'll say, based on where you are, and several billion other mouths that we looked at, this is what's going to happen in 5 years. This is what's going to happen in 10 years, in terms of lost tooths, potential for disease, things that just, it's so exciting with all of the incredible technology we have out there. What keeps me up at night right now is just the interest rates got to go down. I mean, it just does. I mean, I feel like the legal structures are just fine, but until the interest rates go down, the M&A markets can't reignite, and it's just unhealthy for the industry not being able to recycle the money in the M&A markets, and that very much keeps me up at night. I mean, we don't know when. I mean, we know it won't last forever, but we just don't know when that moment's going to be. I was hopeful it would be 25. Obviously, this year we got off to, a rough start with some of these tariffs and some of the things going on. It's just led to uncertainty. So the M&A markets, at the time of us sort of getting together today, they've not reignited yet. I feel like hopefully it'll be the end of this year or 26. But that's, the inability so far to reignite the M&A markets that were booming in 17, 18, 19, the end of 20. 21, we've not reignited them again, and we really need to do that.
Where do you see the future of the DSO industry heading, and how are you preparing your clients and your team for the future?
Well, I mean, the consolidation is going to continue. I mean, I feel like, I had said 10 to 15 years from now, it'll be 80% because of this little blip we're in now with the M&A, being much slower. It might be 20 years, before the whole thing's 80% DSOs, but that's where it's headed, 80 to 90, percent DSOs. And you're going to go from thousands of organizations down to a few hundred. And then you're going to go from a few hundred. I mean, if you're still here, you and I may not be, but if you're still here 50 years from now and you're on a show like this, there may be 10 or 15 dental organizations for the whole United States. It'll be like the airlines. There used to be hundreds of airlines, hundreds of phone companies. Now it's all down to a handful, and then they're regulated by the Justice Department. The Justice Department will say, you know what, we got, I'm just guessing, 15 dental organizations. We can't have 14. There'll be no more mergers. You guys got to just kind of do your thing that way. It may be, sort of in that situation. And I think everybody's preparing, slowly for that by building platforms that they know someday may have, right now, I think the largest platform has around 2,000 offices. You're going to have platforms with 5, 10, 15,000 offices someday.
Right. Well, I just want to thank you for being on today, Brian. It was such a pleasure. You're such a great mind in our industry, and I appreciate you taking and being so generous with your time. So if my listeners would like to get a hold of you, is there a way to contact you?
Yeah, I mean, email's probably best. I mean, bcolao@dykema.com. I'll spell it. It's BCOLAO. And then it's at Dykema, DYKEMA.com. And yeah, reach out. I mean, I love hearing from people. And if there's something I can do, to help somebody, I really like to do that.
Well, thanks again for being on the DSO Hygienist Podcast today, Brian.
Thanks again for having me.
Thank you for listening to the DSO Hygienist Podcast. Please follow or subscribe to be alerted of new episodes.